Next up, we're going to do hills. We're going to start off with like a base tone once again. What should we get on our brush first and foremost?
Water.
Just a little bit of water. You don't have to go crazy with it. We got a bunch of different greens. You choose what green fits yours. If it's a dark night-ish, you might want to go with a darker green with hits of brown in it. If you got a nice sunny day thing, then you can go with a lighter green. It's really your call. I'm going to start with a base green tone. I'm going to put it onto my paper. And then I want to lighten it up. You can lighten up with yellow. You can lighten up with a little bit of white. I'm going to use a little bit of both just because. Always mix more paint than you think you're going to need. Especially when you get to your final and we're doing something that's like 2.5 times this size. You don't want to mix a color for your grass and then run out of it. Try and mix together my color. I don't want it to be too different from the base color that I'm going to use. I'm going to choose some areas for my hills to go. In the background, are they going to be bigger or smaller towards the horizon line? Smaller, much smaller. You know what I can also do? I'll show you how to make bushes in the background too real quick while we're at it. I'm going to take a little bit of brown, a little bit of green. Just going to take a brush, probably a little bit more green than brown, and just dab it in there. Along the horizon line, I'm going to take a very small brush. I can use the back of the brush if I want to, and just pull some brown through there. I can take the small tip of the brush and pull some brown through there to give it a couple little stem tree trunk like looks in there. Can add in a little bit of a lighter tone if I want to, randomly about the place, and come back in with a darker look again to create a little forest look on the side. Now, what we're going to do for the hills is I'm going to just bring in the hill area. Remember, we don't want to leave areas of white between mountains and hills or sky and mountains. So I'm just going to make a couple little rolling hills. They can go up and onto the mountains if I wanted to. More paint is always better. Then I'm going to choose a couple spots for more hills. So again, lighter tones. I'm going to leave this bottom section completely open down here in the corner so I can put some water in there. More paint, more paint, more paint. I'm going to take that original green back in, and I'm going to fill in the blanks. So all the areas that I don't have that light green, I'm going to come in with the dark green. And I want to leave this little side area open just so we can make water. I'm going to take this light green brush that we've already used. And I'm just going to marry these two areas together. Does not have to be perfect. Come on in, take a seat, buddy. You're good. Take a seat. Now that I've done that, quickly before it dries out with a wet fan brush, I can grab a little bit more of this light color paint. Even get a little bit more yellow in there if I want to, and I'm just going to dab it along the top areas. I'm just going to use a corner of the brush, just a small section of this brush, to do areas in the far background. Using smaller brushes, smaller fan brushes in the areas in the back. So it gives the illusion of grass that's further away. Put more of the brush down as I get closer to the edge of the paper. Now I can take this and start to blend down towards the hills, towards the darker areas, just by tapping the brush onto the paper. Just give the illusion of grass. Now I can take a second fan brush, once again with a little bit of water on my brush, a little bit of the green that we used, and I'll dab that starting in the darker areas and working my way up into the lighter areas. To give the illusion of grass. If I need to get more paint on my brush because it's not creating the effect, then that's fine. Just pull more paint onto your brush and blend up into the lighter areas. Want to make sure it all has a nice uniform texture. You don't want any parts looking like it's been brushed right to left. Now you can take that light fan brush one more time wherever it went. It's hiding. And reinforce the light areas that are now covered up a little bit. And start to blend down into those darker greens just a little bit. Start to define the areas a little bit better. If you want to, once again, with those little shrubs you put in the background, you can go back in and reinforce those. That's it for the grass and the hills. Make sense? Okay. Now we're going to move on to the water section